So hello, good morning, good afternoon for the people in East Coast. First of all, Happy New Year. I know it's late, but still, Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome to the world of Linux memory management. So before we go further, I just want to check with you guys. Am I audible to everyone? Like I mentioned in my previous presentation, I'm the only one who is talking, and rest of you guys are in a mute. So in case if you have any query and question, you can ask me via chat window. So before this, just want to check is I'm clearly audible to everyone so that we can proceed further. No reply. Okay, perfect then. In that case, we will start with our presentation. The today topic is Linux memory management. So it's a kind of a vast topic and it's difficult to cover in 1 hour. But I will try my best that you guys will gain something from this presentation. So like I mentioned, if you guys have any query and question, just ask me via the chat window. I will try my level best, or I will get back to you later to reply back to your query or whatever the questions you have. So like we mentioned in the meetup presentation, these are the topics we are going to discuss today. Introduction to memory management. So what exactly is the memory management and why the operating system or the kernel needs memory? The certain concept regarding the memory performance, like the basic uh, things we are going to cover today, like what exactly is the page, what is the virtual resident memory. In the memory architecture section, we are going to cover like whenever your system faces any kind of a memory pressure, what are the things which will be occur in the backend, or how kernel will try to resolve that kind of a memory pressure. And if it's not able to resolve that memory issue, what is the out of memory situation, or which is popularly known as, and what are the background kernel threads which occur or which runs in the background, like kswapd or ptflush or perbdi flush thread. Tools to debug performance issue. I do not create any separate section, but whenever I'm going through the presentation, I'm going to show in each and every section what are the different tools we can use. The fifth section is the tuning parameter. I think I already mentioned all these things in my previous presentation, but just like how we can use these parameter and what are the means how can we tune this parameter to improve the performance of our system. And finally, the result analysis, like whatever the output we are getting from the tools or whatever the applications we are going to run, how can we analyze those results. So these are the topics we are going to discuss today. No, I cannot hear. Durga, are you still not able to hear me? Because here I can see the people can listen to me clearly. Is anyone else facing the similar issue? Like, okay, then in that case, if I'm okay, thanks, Durga. So, like, this is the first slide. So, the first thing we always need to talk, like, whenever we talk about the memory, the first thing which comes in our mind is RAM. And the other thing which we have in our system is like swap, which is a kind of additional, or I can say like a kind of a backup storage, or the thing which we can have in our system just in case if we kind of any kind of a memory pressure. So the question is, why the OS or kernel need memory? So the simple answer to this query is like to run a user space process, because for operating system or of a kernel, the most important task is to run the user space process or whatever the applications we are writing. And for that, the kernel need memory. So that is one of the most important thing the kernel need to have. And now the second question, which has been asked by many times, like what is exactly stored inside this memory? So whatever the content of your applications or your kernel instruction, your working data files and other file system cache, they're all stored inside your memory or your RAM. And like I mentioned earlier, like what is the first thing which strike in your mind when we talks about memory? That is the RAM, the physical device which is present in our system or in every system. So like my previous presentation, this presentation is like regarding to considering the performance whenever you face any kind of a memory pressure. So from the performance perspective, the main problems start arising like when your RAM is full and your kernel start moving those pages from RAM to swap, your disk. Then you see those kind of a memory pressure. So the best way to check is like whenever your system face any kind of a memory issue, or what are the tools we can use to see all those things, like I guess everybody is aware of this vmstat. Okay, so if we run vmstat after every 1 second with 3 intervals, or after interval of 1 second and 3 times, we have some column called swap in and swap out. So if your system is constantly doing swap in and swap out, then in that case your system is facing some kind of a memory pressure. That is the first step. Means this is just a beginning, or this is just an introduction, like how can we debug any of these kind of a issue, or whenever we face any kind of a memory issue. Okay, and I think most of the system nowadays comes with this vmstat installed. In case you don't have this vmstat installed, you can check it. Like proc CPS is like the main package which comes along with the kernel. So you might, if in case you don't have this vmstat installed in your system, you can just install this proc CPS. But proc CPS family has like lot of important other stuff. So it must be installed in your system. For example, this free command, or this pmap, or slap top, nice value, top vmstat. Okay. The second thing is the first thing, like we discussed, like the main problem is whenever your system RAM is full and the kernel need to move pages from your RAM to swap to make a space for the new process which has been creating in your system. So in that case, your kernel will move all your pages from RAM to swap to make a space, and whenever it is moving from RAM to swap, which is like several magnitudes slower as compared to your RAM, then you face all kind of a memory issue. Second possibility is like system may also terminate largest memory consuming process. So that system will do with the help of something called or out of memory killer, which I am going to demonstrate later. But just to check like which process will become a candidate of you can check with the help of this command. So this dstat along with top ---- will give you this process. Like for example, if the system is face any kind of a memory pressure, this has become the first process which is kernel going to kill to release a memory pressure. So this is the command you can run. So this is just a basic introduction. In the upcoming slide, I am going to tell you how this work, or this out of memory works, how kernel calculate all these value. Like this is the process I need to kill. The other factor we can consider like how much CPU is doing in allocating or freeing memory, and manage memory address space mapping, like how much work CPU is doing at that present moment of time in doing all those things. So these are the three basic things which we need to consider. First is like the main problem is when your RAM is full and the kernel starts moving pages from your RAM to swap, which process kernel need to terminate, and how much work CPU is doing in allocation or the freeing of memory or your space memory space mapping from your virtual space to your physical space. Okay. So any questions so far? Like this is just a basic introduction of memory management. If not, I can proceed further. So before we are going to dig more into this, I'm just going to demonstrate the basic unit of memory, which is a page. I think everybody is aware of it. And like how to check like what is the page size in your system. I guess anybody know how to check the page size in your system? Like what is the current page size? So for that, means you can check it via different way, or in Linux there is no single way to check it, but this is a basic command which you can check. For example, this system has a page size of 4 KB. Okay. So what is a page? Means it's a unit of memory which is used by your OS or your CPU. So like I guess everybody is aware, like in a case of our earlier architecture, we have like a 4 KB size or maximum 8 KB size in case of Itanium architecture. But nowadays your CPU or your OS will support a multiple page size. For example, any one of you who configure your database server, for example, Oracle or Sybase or MySQL, there's a concept of something called huge pages where your kernel will support up to a 2 MB of pages. So this has been done to just to have a small TLB or your transition look aside buffer. So like every page or every process which is running in your system has something called a page table, which holds a mapping between your virtual address space and your physical address space. So all these entries are stored inside your page table. So whenever the process need to know like where, okay, means I think this is like a too much theory, so I will going to demonstrate it with the help of this example. For example, pmap is a command which show you your this virtual to physical page mapping. So this is your virtual address space, and this is where your file resides. Okay. So I don't want to go in that much depth, but just to remember that page is a fundamental unit of memory in your OS or your CPU. Okay. And like I told, like nowadays we have something called huge pages. So anybody who have configured these huge pages, you can check it via here. So in case if you have configured these huge pages, you can see it over here. This anon or the anonymous huge pages is a different concept which has been introduced in the case of a RHEL 6, which is called transparent huge pages. But right now we can focus our stuff mainly to the small unit of pages, which is called like a 4 KB of pages right now. We are not going to discuss about these huge pages or those 2 MB of pages. So any questions so far? Because this is just a basic introduction. You guys just need to remember this, like to check what is the page size in your system. Okay. So the next thing is no page size. So page size is per disk or overall. Neeraj, we are not discussing about like this stuff right now. There you have a sectors, you have a blocks. We are discussing in terms of memory. By default, the block size is also 4 KB, but that is like to maintain the coherency between your RAM as well as disk. Right now we are focusing on the your memory section. So when we are going to discuss about those disks section, I'm going to talk about all these things. But right now the focus is your RAM. Is I answer your question or you still have any doubt? Okay. So the next section we are going to discuss is something called virtual memory. So what exactly is a virtual memory? So virtual memory is basically an extraction of your main memory that is almost infinite. So whenever we talk about your physical memory or the resident memory or the memory which is present in your system, we will see with the help of this command, like this system is a kind of a virtual system or which is having a RAM of like 1 GB, roughly around 1 GB. But your virtual memory is not a real memory, which what virtual memory does is to provide each process and the kernel with its own large linear and a private address space. I know this is a kind of a confusing. So why exactly we need this virtual memory? Or whenever you run this command like top, you see two sections. First is the virtual memory section, second one is the resident memory section. So resident memory is your actual memory, which is your RAM. So this is your virtual memory, which is represented by something called word. So why we need this virtual memory? That is our major question, or why, what is the need of this virtual memory? So like I told you earlier, like the process is our fundamental unit, and it don't mean that process doesn't have any information about the physical memory which is present in your system. So instead, your process has access to something called this virtual memory, and each process has got its own virtual address space. So when a process allocated memory, the physical address space of this page frame is mapped to your virtual memory address space. So from the perspective of that process has this private memory address space, and it cannot see any of this physical frame mapped into your virtual address space. So like to sum it up, the advantage of this virtual address space is like for the security or to enforce security restriction, because your process which has been started in your system doesn't have access to your physical RAM. So your process has access to your virtual memory, and then we have a mapping take place, something called MMU or memory management unit between your virtual address space to your physical address space. So like I mentioned, like I showed you earlier, this is the mapping between your virtual address space to your physical address space. Okay. And the size of this virtual address space depend upon your processor architecture. For example, in case of your 32-bit system, it's like 4 GB. So you have this 32-bit architecture. So your process address space is like something around 4 GB. But in case of your 64-bit architecture, it is like a really big virtual address space. Okay, so something around, if you are going to calculate all these values, it comes out to be 16 exabyte. Okay, and but the theoretical limit which has been supported so far is 256 terabyte. So this is how it works. So in case of your 64-bit system, this is how this virtual address space looks. So like I show you, in case of a 32-bit, like it's 2 raised to power 32. So it comes out to be a 4 GB. But in case of a 64-bit architecture, this works like this, from 0 to 63 bits. So the first 12 bits from 0 to 11 is reserved for something called offset. Offset means your metadata. For example, all those you are aware of the database, they have something called metadata, like a data about your data. So here it holds all the information, like where exactly your data is present, not the actual data. From bit number 12 to bit number 47, there is where the actual mapping of this address space occur. And from 47 to 63, this is all reserved. Okay, so this is because of the current hardware limitation. Okay, so when the machine is built which is support enough RAM, this is likely going to change. So before going further, I just want to share you with one of the Red Hat documentation. So if you see this documentation, the maximum memory which is supported by Red Hat so far in case of RHEL 7, which is the new version, is 3 terabyte, and theoretically they said it will support up to 64 terabytes. Okay, and theoretically whatever the paper we have, they said that it support up to 256 terabyte, but Reddit support up to this limit. It's a kind of weird because in case of a RHEL 6 they have mentioned is 6 terabyte and theoretically 64 terabyte, but I don't know why they changed 3 terabyte in case of RHEL 7, but this is a limit which Reddit support. So in your system the maximum RAM you have is up to 3 terabytes. This I'm talking about the physical RAM. Okay. So any questions so far? So this is a 64-bit architecture. So in 64-bit you have like a big virtual address space. So the first 12-bit, like I mentioned, it is used to hold your metadata. From bit number 12 to bit number 47 is where your actual mapping of your address space happens. And from bit number 47 to bit number 63 is currently reserved because it's your current hardware limitation. There are still research going on to use these bits, but I guess up to a maximum, I don't know how much you guys have seen the maximum RAM which is present in your system, but I see till now 2 terabyte is the maximum I saw in any of the system, in one of the production system. So this is just a basic introduction of virtual memory. So any question you have so far regarding this virtual memory or your page size? I know this is just a kind of a basic introduction. Any questions, doubt? Okay, if not, then we can proceed further. Okay, so one thing which I'm just going to repeat from my last session is like, this is one of the, because here we discuss about this virtual memory and this resident memory, which is the actual RAM. So whenever we are going to add up all this column, the actual memory which is being utilized by your process. So like I told you, virtual memory is what process see, and the resident memory is what's the actual memory present in your system, and the virtual memory depend upon your architecture. It's by like a 32-bit architecture or a case of or you are using a 64-bit architecture, and then there is a mapping take place between your virtual memory to physical memory, and there is something called a cow, which is copy on write. Like your memory mapping only takes place when the bits are being returned or your process has been raised a write request. So the main problem which has been faced by many of the system administrators is like when they add up all these values present in this resident column, it doesn't comes out to be equal to your RAM or the physical memory which is present in system. It is like always comes out to be greater than the whatever the memory which is currently present in your system. Okay, so why this is an issue? Because why it must or should be equal to your physical memory which is present in your system. So why it always comes out to be greater as compared to your physical memory? So the reason for that is something called a shared memory. So the two processes which is running on your system can share memory by mapping those pages in their respective private virtual address space. So the same physical frames can be shared between two processes, and it is the job of the kernel that the memory address are shared with the access permission. So for example, this one. So we see that this process has this virtual address mapped to this physical address, and we have these bits. So these are the libraries, or in other sense we can say a shared library. So a process, for example, this is the init, which is the first process which has been started in your system. So this process or any other process which has been running in your system can share the same library. I guess the one which is represented by R and all the bits off. This library can be shared between different processes. So that's why you see that the combination of all the resident or the column, when you add all the bits of your resident column, comes out to be greater than your physical memory. So like I mentioned in my previous presentation, we have one script with the help of which you can calculate like what is the actual memory which is being utilized by your system. So I think in my previous presentation I also told you, like for example, for every process which has been running on your system, you can go inside this file. For every process we have this file called smap, and there you have something called shared clean and shared dirty. So there are many ways. Either you can go inside every process which has been running in your system. For example, these are the list of processes which has been running on your system from 1 to 985. So you can go inside each and every directory, find out what are the dirty pages or what are the shared pages, and you can like do some mathematical calculation to minus it from like what are the pages which has been shared between different systems. Or you can use this script to calculate the same stuff. So you just need to have Python installed in your system and then run this script. So what the script will do is to do a calculation on your behalf, like to minus those shared pages and give you like what is this is like a private memory, which is the actual memory used by this process, and what is the shared memory which has been used by this process. The only catch with this script is like, for example, you have like 9 processes of Apache which is running in your system. Obviously the first one which has been run by the root, and the rest of the 9 processes which has been forked by this root process. It will give you a cumulative sum of all those processes. It will not give you the individual sum. So if you want, you can enhance the script to give you the individual sum. But in case if you are interested, like what is the actual memory which has been used by this process, you can use this script, which I have just shared you guys in the chat window. Okay. So any questions so far regarding the virtual memory, the script, or how the calculation occur? What is the use of this shared memory? And like I mentioned, to run this script, you must have a Python installed in your system because this is a Python script. If there is no question, I can move to the other part, which is the architecture, which is the third topic which we are going to discuss today. So in the architecture section, we will see when the available memory in your system becomes low, what are the various methods the kernel will use to free up that memory, and add something to something called its free list. So before I'm going to discuss about all these things, let's understand the different state of a memory page can be in. So these are the different states which your memory page can be in. First one is the free. That is means whenever the process asks for any of the amount of memory, that page is available for immediate allocation. That is the free page you have in your system. The second one is called inactive clean. So easiest way to explain this inactive clean or inactive dirty is, for example, let's say I opened one file called vimabc, any file which is, let's say, not this. Let's say I open any file which is currently present in my system, or that script itself. Okay, I open this file. I do not make any changes into this file, and I close this file. Okay, so right now what kernel will did is to bring that file, if that file doesn't present in your RAM, is to bring that file from the disk and put it in your something called cache. Okay, so at that moment of time, because I didn't make any changes to this file is considered as an inactive clean. Okay, because the page content is not modified since this file read from the disk. But let's say in other situation, if I make any changes to this file, then that file is considered as an inactive dirty. Means whatever the content which is present in the disk, that content has been changed since this file is moved to the RAM. Okay, so there are two states. One is inactive clean. In that case, means the file is read from the disk, but I do not make any changes. And there is something called inactive dirty. In that case, I read that file and I made some changes. So whatever the content which is present on the RAM is not equal to whatever the content which is present in the disk. And the last state is something called active page. Means that page is actively used and not the candidate of being freed. Okay, so these are the 4 states in which your page can be in, or memory page can be in. Your free, inactive clean, inactive dirty, and active. And the easiest way you can check these pages with the help of this command. Okay, so these are the pages. These are the inactive, these are the dirty pages, and this inactive is the sum of inactive file and inactive anonymous. So we haven't discussed about this anonymous page so far. Okay, so anonymous page are the pages which are not associated with a file or a disk or on disk. It's something to do with your heap or stack. And to free up these pages, you need to move these pages to your swept space. So I will go back to my previous example. So here, if you can see, like you have a pages which is associated with your some sort of your files. For example, this is a shared library. But here you can see anonymous, which is a part of your hack or a steep or a your heap or a stack. So if you need to move these pages, you cannot free up these pages immediately. You need to move those pages to your swap space. Okay. So any questions so far regarding this page structure? Okay, if not, I can proceed further. So the main problem which started arising, for example, I show you earlier. Let's say I open this file and I made some changes to this file. Let's say I made any number of changes. And same thing which has been done by our application. Our applications constantly read some file from our disk, made some changes, and make those pages from inactive clean to inactive dirty, or yeah. So the problem will start arising if these dirty pages grows, and if these dirty pages grows, they will fill out your memory, obviously, because that is the space where those dirty pages are holding. And somehow we need to push those pages back to disk. Okay, so whenever these pages start filling, pages start filling your cache, and as you all are aware, means the place where these pages are holding is your RAM, which is a volatile in nature. So in case of any kind of a power failure, your content will be lost. So we need some mechanism to push those dirty pages from your RAM to your disk. So in case of your older kernel version, we have something called a PD flush thread, which is constantly pushing those pages from your RAM to your disk so that your content will not be lost. But I guess in case of this is my CentOS 6 system. Yeah. So in case of this system, this is now changed to something called BDI, or a block device interface, or backing device interface. So these are the thread which is responsible for flushing your dirty data back to the disk. Okay. So how this will happen, this is the topic of discussion of our next slide. So before that, like I mentioned in my previous presentation, we must need to have this RPM installed in our system. This will give you like a wealth of information. Okay, I think I already have this one installed in my system. Okay, so these are some of the tunables which we are going to discuss today, and how these are related to this Perl BDI interface, or whatever the flusher thread which will happen in the background to flush that dirty data back to your disk. Okay, so this system doesn't have this kernel doc RPM installed. So let's install this RPM. In between, if you guys have any question, you can ask it. So is any one of you modified these parameters before, like to play with those parameters and modified it based on your application? So means generally you don't need to modify these parameters. Means I guess I can say roughly from 80 to 90% of the case, whatever the default parameter which is in come by default installed in your system will suffice. But if your application is doing a lot of small writes or your application is creating a lot of dirty pages, then in those cases you need to tweak that parameter to make sure your system is not going to have a kind of a memory pressure or the memory issues. So you need to tune those parameters so that you have this flusher thread will wakes up and flush those data back to your disk. Okay, so now we have this RPM installed. Yeah, these are the parameters. Okay. And why we installed that RPM? Because this RPM is give you the wealth of information about like various documentation or whatever the different parameters which we are going to discuss is today. So I think here. Not here. Okay, so I'm just trying to find it out. So here under sysctl. Okay, so whatever I'm going to discuss is today, or whatever the parameter I'm going to show you, you can easily find it out here. For example, this dirty underscore ratio. Okay, so this RPM will give you the wealth of information, like the complete explanation why this parameter is used and why we need to tweak this parameter. Okay, so for example, let's start with this dirty expire centisecond. Okay, and here it dirty expire centisecond. Okay, so first thing is like this is the 100 of a second. This comes out to be 3000. Dirty expire dirty okay. So like this tunable is used to define when dirty data is old enough to be eligible for write out by the kernel flusher thread. Okay. So first thing is like if they have mentioned 3000 seconds, that is actually the 100 of a second. So 3000 second means 30 seconds. So that means how long your dirty data is been eligible to return out to a disk. So for example, if your page is 30 seconds old, the flusher thread, which is the per BDI, will run and flush this data back to your disk. So that is the use of this parameter. So let's say I am using something called Oracle database. So in that case, if my Oracle database or my Oracle application is generating a lot of amount of a dirty pages, then in that case I need to tweak this parameter to make sure that I don't have enough amount of dirty pages in my RAM. Okay. Same is the use of something called dirty write back centisecond. It is also 100 of a second. So in that case, the kernel will wake your flusher thread to write out that data. So in first case, if your dirty data is that much older, in this case, the kernel itself will run the flusher thread to flush the data back to the disk. So in first case, means any of this whatever will occur first. So the main aim is to flush your data back to the disk so your data will not be lost, and at the same time you don't have a large amount of dirty data in your RAM. I know this is something confusing, but this is how they defined it. Same way you have something called a dirty ratio. So this is the percentage of your total available memory being dirtied by which a process which is generating a disk write will itself start writing that data back to your disk. Okay, so if that ratio will hit, the process which is itself generating a dirty pages will going to write the data back to your disk. And there is one more, something called dirty background ratio. This one. So at the same time, this is like whenever your system reach this much amount of dirty pages, your flusher thread will run and it is going to push the data back to your disk. Okay. Which book do you recommend for performance tuning? Upend, I can give you the link of that book. Means the best book I read so far is for Brendan Gregg. Means it depends upon your choice. As means I think this is the best book, but for to read this book you must need to have some knowledge about your Linux system programming. As well as I will recommend that there is one Red Hat paper called Red Hat Performance Tuning, which is RH442, which is the best place where you can learn. Also, there is one Red Hat documentation. Okay, means it depends upon whether you are want to look at it in RHEL 7 or RHEL 6. This I think this is one of the best place where I look for any of the performance issues or one of the useful performance guide. Except for that, I think kernel-doc, here you can see means you don't need any books. If you can go through this huge list of documentation, you don't need any book to read. This is having all the information which is mentioned in these books. So any question regarding these parameters? So like I mentioned, means in most of the cases you don't need to tweak this parameter. But if you are running some database application or you are running some sort of application which is creating a lot of amount of dirty pages, in that case, to prevent your RAM to be filled by those dirty pages, you need to tweak this parameter to flush that dirty pages back to your disk. That is the bottom line. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So how to find it out the dirty pages in the system at any point of time? This I think I already discussed. This one. Because this system is not doing anything, so you don't see any dirty pages, but in case of any of your system which is doing a lot of reads or write, you will find a lot of dirty pages. Any other question except for this? Okay, if not, we can proceed to next section. Introduction to OOM or out of memory killer. But before that, I just want to show you guys something related to one of the kernel thread, which is called kswapd. Okay. Anyone know what this thread is? What this thread did or what is the work of this? And most of the time you will find this thread in sleeping state. So let's say if your system is facing some sort of a memory pressure. So at that time, this thread will wakes up, which is called kswapd, and scan something called LRU or least recently used pages from your active or inactive list, which we just discussed earlier, which is inactive, dirty or inactive, clean, and it try to free up those pages. So this thread will kicks off when your system has available memory less than that of the given amount, and whenever your threshold is reached. So what exactly is this threshold? Okay, so this is a threshold which is defined in your system. So how this works? So let's say this is a threshold I defined for my system. This is in KB, so this is 45 MB. Okay. Any one of you aware of this sysRQ trigger? What this does? Means I think any one of you who have configured kdump in your system has used this command frequently, or whenever your system freezes, you can run this magic sysRQ key to retrieve your system or to generate a kdump out of it. Okay, so let's go inside this verilog messages and go to the bottom, all the way to the bottom. So here, if you can see here, roughly around 45 MB, this is minimum. So in case of your memory pressure, what exactly will happen? Means when this KSWFD daemon will run, or when it will come out of your sleep state. For example, whenever the number of free pages in your system goes beyond this minimum limit, which has been defined by this parameter, VM min underscore free kilobytes. Okay, so whenever this threshold limit is reached, that is the number of free pages in your system goes below this threshold limit, this KSWFD daemon will run and try to free up the pages, like to flush those inactive pages back to your disk, so that to make a room for the new processes. Okay, so once like I mentioned, once your free memory reached the lowest threshold, KSWFD operates in your synchronous mode and freeing up pages of memory as their request is. So they means first what KSWFD will do, it will try to scan the inactive list. For example, inactive dirty or inactive clean, and if they are needed, then it will go to your active list. So this is the work of KSWFD. So whenever your threshold limit is reached, KSWFD will kicks off and it will try to flush your inactive dirty as well as inactive clean pages to make the room for the new process. Okay, so let's go to one more step ahead. So let's say KSWFD will run, it will try to reclaim those pages, but still, for example, let's say those pages are the active pages. So what will be the next step? So your process is running, it will ask for a memory, KSWFD will kicks off, it will try to reclaim the memory, but still KSWFD will not able to reclaim that sufficient amount of memory. Then there is a one process, or there is something called algorithm which is kicked off by the kernel, something called OOM, or out of memory condition. Okay, so right now, for example, if I start any new process and this system doesn't have any sufficient amount of memory to start that process, like I mentioned, KSWFD kicks off, it will try to reclaim, but still it is not able to reclaim a sufficient amount of memory to start that process, then this is the first process which the kernel will try to kill off to reclaim that memory. So let's demonstrate that. This I'm just trying to show you guys how that out of memory seen. So here, if you can see, out of memory kill process MySQL. So this is just for demonstration, but this is actually happen in your real scenario. Like for example, when KSFD was not able to reclaim sufficient amount of memory, then kernel need to reclaim, or kernel need to kill some process to make a space for this new existing process. So how kernel will do that? Means how kernel will know that this is a process I need to kill. For that thing, kernel need to keep on running something called a badness score for every process which has been running on your system. And you can see the badness score of any process with the help of this proc PID and something called oom_score. For example, this PID, which is the init process 1, has a badness score of 0. Let's go for any process. Let's say 10. So this also has a badness score of 0 because this system is not doing much, so you cannot see much of a difference between the badness score. But this is how the kernel will try to kill the process which has a higher badness score. So now the question is how this badness score is calculated. So this is the various factors which kernel take into consideration to calculate this badness score. First is your VM size, which is a virtual memory size, which we have just discussed. So just don't confuse with your RSS or your resident memory or your physical RAM. So if your VM size is greater, your badness score will be increased. Nice value, I think everybody is aware, every one of you are aware of this nice value from -20 to 19. Okay, so the positive nice value will give the high score. Total runtime of a process. So for example, if the process is running for a longer amount of time, this will reduce the score. And if that process is running by something called a root user, that process has got some slight amount of higher protection. Just remember two things. For example, your kernel and your PID1 is immune to out of memory killer. Means the out of memory killer mechanism will not kill this two process. Vinay, can you please type the name of the score here? Thanks. Okay, sure. So this is how your out of memory means. These are things which kernel take into consideration while calculating your badness score. Okay. Except for that, there is one more parameter which is called oom_adg. This you can also tune to increase or decrease that badness score. So this will accept the parameter in between -17 to 15. If you give -17 to any of the process, that process will become immune. And if you give 15 to any of the process, that means that process has a higher chance to be killed by the kernel. Okay. So just one last thing. So like I mentioned, if your system was not able to reclaim the sufficient amount of memory, oom is one of the condition, but there might be some other condition. So like oom, the kernel will try to kill any of the process to reclaim memory. In some of the state, you will see that the kernel, your system will give up, means your kernel will give up and your system will freeze, means it will not responding when these kind of situation occur. And the other situation is similar to that freeze, is like a deadlock where system is not responding. So the best thing is you can do to avoid your system to out of memory condition. So I think some of you even aware of this. There is one more parameter, VM panic on oom. So like I run that command echo f to give you the demonstration of the out of memory killer. But in case if you want to create the VM core out of this, whenever your out of memory condition occur, you just need to turn on this parameter equal to 1 and you can generate the VM core out of it. But this is not recommended in the production environment. If you are running in any of your development environment, you can test this parameter by just turn it off, turn it on. Okay. VM panic on oom. Okay, sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. It might be because of Sunday. Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. I told you it's Sunday. Okay. So in that case, whenever my system hits the out of memory killer, it will generate the VM core for me, which I can later analyze. So I would say thanks everyone today for joining this call. This is just a brief introduction about the memory management. This is like a really vast topic. So silly questions. Are these kernel parameters appropriate for all distribution of Linux? Johnny, I'm not very much sure, but I test this on Fedora, CentOS as well as Red Hat. I don't know about the other distribution, but I'm really sure about these three distributions. Angad asks, what is the frequency to check KSWD? Angad, this will definitely depend upon your system, like what exactly your system is doing. So like I told you, if your system is generating too much amount of uh, dirty pages, then in that case, the KSWD will start scanning frequently. But if your system is not doing anything, you will always find KSWD in a sleeping state. So it will all depend what exactly your system is doing or what application you are exactly running in your system. Okay, there's one more question. Can you talk a bit about transition look aside buffer? Okay. Yeah, I guess even if we can, I just need to check. Just 1 second. Let me install one package. Okay. Yeah, this is a TLB entries. Okay, if you guys want to use this. Okay, so what exactly is your transition look aside buffer? So like I told you, every page or every process which is running in your system has something called a page table, which hold out the mapping between your physical address space to your virtual address space or your virtual address space to your physical address space. So either this page table entry is stored in your RAM, or to speed up this process, there is something called TLB or transition look aside buffer, which is present in your CPU, so that your system doesn't need to go all the way from your to your RAM to look for those entries. So for example, let me check if I have this. Yeah, lscpu command. So here, if you can see, this system has something called L1D cache, data cache, L1 instruction cache, these type of cache. So the way the speed occur is your CPU is the fastest, then you have RAM, and then you have slowest component, which is your disk. So if any of the data which is being retrieved from your CPU is always the fastest one. So that's why I said in case of your huge pages, like right now this system has a default page size of 4 KB. So for holding out the each page, you need to have maintain the entry in your transition look aside buffer table. Like this page has a mapping from here to this. Okay. So in case if you're going to use the huge page, your transition look aside buffer size is small because this is like really costly. So like I told, if something is retrieved from your CPU, that is always the fastest. So that's why the transition look aside buffer just to hold out your page table entry. That is the mapping between your virtual page to your physical page. Any other question? I'm sorry, means these are like really vast topics, so it's really difficult to cover in just 1 hour of presentation. But I will try my level best to answer your question. Any other question? Hey, thanks, Neeraj. Hey, thanks, Johnny. Thanks, MG. I know it's Sunday, so I don't want to extend it too further. Hey, thanks, Angad. Thanks, Durga. Yeah, sure. Angad, I will keep on posted you on that meetup group. So I'm here for next 2 minutes in case if we do not have any other question, we can wrap it up. Hey, thanks, Vinay. So